Hello and good day or good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Roxy, and this is Nico.
Hi, everyone. Good morning or evening.
We are coming to you from the Living Systems Art and Design Collaboratory, and we are really excited to be sharing an exciting talk today from one of our guest speakers and also the main patron of the Living Systems Collaboratory. So before we talk about that, we're just going to share a little bit about the collaboratory. So alas, everything on planet Earth is alive and connected. We are part of a part of a part that is also part of a part, and everything in this breathing ecosystem talks to each other. Alas, that is why we created the Living Systems Art and Design Collaboratory. The collaboratory is a part of two programs. It is presented by the Design Science Studio at the Buckminster Fuller Institute in partnership with habRitual and the Emergent Media Design Lab at the University of California, Irvine. This program provides funding for artists and designers to support the development of creative projects that are exploring living systems. The collaboratory works with a cohort of 30 designers and artists, and their projects are working on aiding people in weaving in the wisdom embedded in living systems in a way that can become accessible, these blueprints that nature provides for us. And it aids people in perceiving these biological, cognitive, social, ecological, philosophical, spiritual, mathematical, political, technological dimensions of life as a unified whole, as inspired by living systems.
Just in case you don't know what we're talking about, living systems is that thing that you might not have heard about before, but once you do, you discover that it's literally everything that you've been doing all your life and that you're surrounded by. And with today's talk, you're going to have the opportunity to dive really deep into it with one of the biggest experts in this area that will enlighten you and show you in the best possible way.
And this is, as we mentioned, brought to you in partnership. So this is a collaboration between the Buckminster Fuller Institute, habRitual, the University of California, Irvine, so the Emergent Media Design Lab, which the director, John Crawford, is you'll be hearing from later today as well. And this is in partnership with Mansoor Vakili, who will be speaking today. And we also thank our partners, Gray Area and Birds Without Borders, and many others who are along this journey with us. And this is also provided in mentorship. So we have a wonderful team that is supporting all of the creators who are international. So big gratitude to Ivan Williams and Mansoor and John, to Lisa Nagel, Faith Flanagan of the Buckminster Fuller Institute, Roxy Shawajai, that's me, Amanda Joy Ravenhill, and our beloved Nicolas Alcala, who we have with us here this morning. So just a quick brief hello from the Design Science Studio, which is an educational incubator for art. It is empowering a global community of creators who are imagining a regenerative future and helping inspire, catalyzing inspiration, conversation, and action to transition to this world that works for all. So we are excited and grateful to be working with such a beautiful legacy that our beloved Buckminster Fuller left behind, and so many others who have seen that there's a world that can work for 100% of life. And we don't need to have a world that doesn't. So in this space, we have created the studio, and we're collaborating with all life and living systems to make this shift and empowering people to really be in this sweet spot.
Yeah, it's like we love to talk about this new regenaissance, as we call it, and it's this like emerging quality that is happening in the world where like people are starting to realize that we rethought society 100 years ago. After the Industrial Revolution, we were kind of shifting how how we wanted to be as a society, and that lasted for 100 years, and it was fine, but it wasn't enough, and now it's probably time to rethink again where our balance is, and what our priorities are, and how to find the best way to relate with each other, with this world, and to put all the resources, the beautiful resources that we have to use, so we can make the world work for 100% of life.
So without further ado, we are going to dig into our conversation today and welcome Mansoor Vakili to the stage. Hello, Mansoor.
Hello, good timing, I guess, for everyone, because we are all on different part of this world, and so good timing to everyone. And I'm so happy to share some of the ideas for this direction and transformation that we are going through, and ready to go.
All right, wonderful. Well, we are going to leave you here, and we will be along the ride with you and have so many people tuning in. So thank you so much for giving this guest talk today, synchronizing with the non-linear living world.
Thank you for you, Nico, and everyone and all the participants that are part of all this group together to experience this and see how could we participate in this world with more sense and more quality and potential that we have, Earth has provided to us. So basically, I'm going to talk about today how the living system, or the goal of the session today would be if the living system are a cognitive system, then how can we apply the nonlinear system thinking, relationship, and values to the collaborative network? Roxy, go to the next page. Yeah. An overview of this would be, first, I will cover the transformation era, why this digital era is a transformation era, and we are going through a major transformation. Second would be, and then from there, I bring the challenges that linear thinking, relationship, and values in this experiencing in the transformation era. And then I explained the nonlinear network as intellectual cognitive network, and how could we, as a network, implement nonlinear relationship values and thinking in a way that the whole becomes greater than some of the parts, like any living system, self-organizing living system. So that would be the goal of an overview of the discussion today. And before I get to that, I'm going to go and recap the last session and discussion that we have on the next page, Roxy. And on that base, we are, first thing that we covered last time, we explained that we are living in a living system. The whole Earth is a living system, and the whole universe is a living system. And then, as a living, and as we discussed last time, the living system, the structural pattern of organization of the living system is a nonlinear network. So, understanding the behavioral pattern of living system through the understanding of the nonlinear network gives us a more powerful and essential behavior of living system, which is applicable. They are so essential that applicable to any living system, including our body, or Earth, or economy as a living system, or a politic as a living system, a social network as a living system. And it gives us a total understanding of the universe, even as a nonlinear network, and how they behave. So very briefly, I went through the principles of the nonlinear network, that how they implement or combine order and randomness to create the system that is highly connected because of that order and all the randomness, and they are highly structured because of the order and combination of those two, order and randomness, make them, especially participation of randomness, makes them so flexible that they can perform at the chaotic zone. And when they do that, they become fractal. And when they become fractal, all the elements of the network can work together and sync capabilities in such a way to create the whole that is greater than sum of the parts. And that's the main process of creativity, of self-organizing process that happens in the chaotic zone. And basically, if we expand this idea, would be in the universe, the particles in the world, all the particles. First of all, the universe is made of energy that if it experiences the local stability, it manifests itself as a particle. But those particles have some inherent pattern of information that enable them to structure themselves always in nonlinear network pattern. And when they do that, they create that self-organizing system that creates whole that is greater than sum of the parts. As an example, a bunch of molecules get together and structure themselves on that, inherently structure themselves on that pattern of structure, and they become a protein that has higher conscious, higher intelligent, higher functionality and content of information. If you go up on that ladder, it just goes to higher level of complexity and conscious and intelligent, like from protein to cell to organs to body network to human network to earth network as a combination of human and plants and species. And so earth would have a higher conscious and higher knowledge. And each time we are going up, and then you can go from there to the solar system knowledge and conscious and purpose, and higher would be, to the galaxies and all this. So it just goes up as a cognitive process, up and up with the quality of higher consciousness, higher content of information and purpose, and to guide the system at the same time too. So that brings us some amazing new knowledge of how this system has its own guidance that is guiding it at the same time too. So Earth has higher consciousness than we are, and is guiding us at the same time. And that brings hope to us that we are not only one that we are doing and damaging the Earth. There's a bigger process going on, and this is when we are part of that bigger process. Another that was mostly I try to talk about the order and randomness as a quality of this as a basic principle of the self-organizing networks, living networks. Second one is the self-similarity, and that's another powerful property of the nonlinear network, that they are universal, and they one application to any network could be applied to any other network. So they all behave the same. When we know that there's their behavior, we can apply it to any network. And this gives us a view of the world as a network, nonlinear networks, that they are behaving in different stages. And another thing that we may need to know about another potential or principle is that in nonlinear network, there is no, because they perform at chaos, there is no any proportionality between cause and effect. which is the base of our linear logic of proportionality cause and effect, that we come up with a certainty and all this, and that's another quality basically, and that makes, I can explain that later on as far as how we become observant, because we know that there is no proportionality between the cause and effect in general, even though in a small scale there is. So last one would be the uneven power law distribution, that the distribution of the networks are not even. Like sun, 97% are made of hydrogen and helium, and the rest of that 3% are made of other ones and other elements. And between that 3% is the same distribution too. And that type of distribution creates hub on the system, that they are very important in integrity and sustainability of system if they perform with the non-linear values. And as soon as they perform with linear values and relationship, then the whole system becomes non-sustainable. From there, I guess I talked about the linear values and relationship and non-linear ones. And from then I capped up with how it would be beneficial, this transformation would be beneficial in the personal level to social, economic, planet, and the whole Earth in general too. So then we go to the second issue. The topic is transformation topic. Basically, what we are facing in digital era, if we can go to the other, Roxy, if we can go to the fifth one now. Fifth. Yeah, this number 4 shows the different relationship, that the linear relationship compared to nonlinear relationship and values. And these are the transformation that we are basically going, shifting from linear perceptions and values to nonlinear. And the next one would be the transformation. As far as the transformation, we are living now in a digital era. As you see in the chart 2, historically, when we look at the pattern of change on the astronomical scale from radiation era to the matter era, to the formation of galaxies and stars, and to the formation of plants, we see that the time period between each stage, it is shortening after each progressive change, and continues to shrink smaller and smaller. As you see on the chart, we can see that the curve of the time is going almost straight up and becoming exponential. Especially in digital world, I propose that even time is shrinking now. Just imagine how this year passed away without even noticing most of the time. We are shrinking time. If you're gonna, we can explain it through this experiment, that if you are watching a movie, and you fast forward it, you're receiving more information per second. And now that as a human being, we are receiving so much information, it looks like we are fast forwarding the time. So basically, the time itself even is shrinking too, because now there is a relationship between the time and the information that we have. Exactly like there is a relationship, is a dynamic relationship between the speed and space, that before we thought that the space is static, but Einstein showed us no, if we have it just depends on the speed of movement, and it changes. We make it dynamic. Same thing happened here too, as far as the time. Time is eternal. Time is illusion that we create as our past experiences. Now we know that this even time could be shrinking, and that brings us to this issue of change. If we are dealing with the faster path of change and acceleration in rate of change, then we're going to see more and more unpredictability and more, toward chaos and unpredictability. And that means we are emerging to that chaotic zone that basically creates that chaotic zone is a self-organizing process. And through that, we emerge to the new way of looking at the world and new way of practicing and participating in as a part of this whole living universe and living earth. If you look at this chart, pictures over there, it shows how when we warming the water at the beginning, it starts, the molecules inside start going in different direction. As the heat progresses, all the molecules, they become like crazy, each one going in different direction and hitting each other and all this to make it even more hotter and hotter because of friction that they create. But eventually it gets to the critical zone that is the highest unpredictability and chaos among the movement of those molecules. Then suddenly emerges the amazing hexagon structure that the water molecules from the bottom go up from the center and come down on that hexagon surfaces down, which is the most efficient way of cooling itself, going up to get cool and come back to be hot again too. And that structure is the emergent structure of the water. So this is a good explanation that how we are going through this transformation of chaos and accelerated change. And through that, how could we, the new structure, which is fractal, and all the elements are synchronizing together on the shape, on the bodywork, and all the things, and that they are all aware of each other. None of them are gonna hit each other or be in way of the other one. Exactly the way that the sardines move in the water, or the birds move, that there are thousands of them synchronizing somehow that they don't hit each other and they move as a one unit. That's the emergence process that comes up. But the main challenge that right now we have, so first of all, we know that we are going through a major change, major chaos, major unpredictability. But at the same time, we need to know more about the linear thinking, relationship and values, and the challenges that this linear perception, values, and relationship and thinking that we're gonna have in this this nonlinear world, and how could we first of all recognize and be aware of the shortcoming of our linear judgmental system, and how could we shift to more observant and system thinking, to not to resist the change, which normally linear mind does, rather than embrace the change and be observant and see it as a process of going through a major shift and emergence of a new conscious and all this stuff. So I try to just a little bit focus on linear thinking, that how this process happened, and show the challenges that it has, to make it more clear as far as the differentiation between the linear thinking and the non-linear thinking, and then I get back to the how this process is going to happen and how could we participate in it. As far as the linear thinking, as I have mentioned in the other section of the speech too, that through our Earth as a living system is a cognitive living system, wanted to be a self-aware, because all the living system was a cognitive system. So they choose human network to experience that self-consciousness as a part of the Earth, and through that, Earth becomes self-aware. So, and now we have received to the end of that process that Earth knows is a living system, self-organizing system, and how it behaves and all this too. And that process is over. And it tried to give us all kind of messages to join back, and that process that I wanted to become self-aware with the knowledge that we created through the digital world and nonlinear network which is supporting that. I am aware of that, and just get back to the your connective system, connect again with the Earth and go forward and bring your best potential that you have. But we are still trying to go with the linear relationship and linear structure that we created, and we are not happy with the changes, fast changes that are happening to bring us to that stage of self-organizing with the whole Earth. So our self-organizing process, I mean, self-conscious process that created this linear thinking, values, and relationship was according to, we started with immediate surrounding that it was normally stable. First of all, we start mimicking other animals, or use the hand, use the our hand or our voice to try to communicate with others, and then hand language and all this. And then we started eventually to mimic other animals to be able to repel them or attract them. Through that process, what we started to separate the object from the subject and create the abstract thinking. Through that abstract thinking, we separated ourselves from the living system, like separating object from the subject. And to protect that self, that separated identity that we created, the nature of this logic that we created through that linear thinking, it became very defensive to protect that self that we created. And through that, to protect that self, we created a relationship based on self-assertiveness, short-term gain, domination, domination. And we basically, since we were, as a human being, we are becoming more settled and all this too, and our environment was becoming more stable partially. We created this linear model based on order only. I mentioned that there's a combination of order and randomness too. And here we only took the order and on base of that, we made a linear thinking on base of order, even though it's an approximation, because the living system is a real world is made of order and randomness. So we eliminated the random and we took the order to be able to be predictable, and by and bring certainty, and through that certainty, judgment and all this too. So now we are fine, and then because of that protective nature of the universe, we have a bias to fear, and always or for any event, we are even regretting the past or worrying about the future, and gave us the certainty to blame and make a judgment. So that judgmental system even has a negative quality because of that defensive nature of the living or linear thinking. So those, because of that, and because this linear thinking is based on order only, does not really embrace change and has fear of change because it loses the control and always resist the change. So those are the challenges that our living or linear thinking has in the time of this amazing process that we are going through of transformation. And being aware of that, it will help us to, and by thinking non-linearly, which is observant, then and looks at the chaos as a process of self-organizing process, and then rather than being fearful and going through the mostly the violence, and look at the differences, we look at the quality of that we are offering, and through this process, how much human being was able to bring by using all the resources that we have. How could we convert it to the information, and those are informations are helping us to go through this process of transformation that we are going through. Now we gonna cover on page 8 the era of transformation. How this transformation is gonna happen, and what is our how could we as a network participate in this transformation? When we look at the human body as a metaphor, we know that our brain and body works together with a nonlinear relationship of cooperation, partnership, and asset management. But as soon as our brain, at the same time, if we look at the distribution of our body, we have a hub, which is one of them is the brain. And our brain, as soon as the domination of linear mind takes over, separates the brain from the body network that only tries to satisfy the addiction of the brain to sugar or any substance or information or anything, and forgets about the body network. So implements the linear relationship rather than non-linear relationship. Even though subconsciously this is happening, but in the consciously we separate the brain and body and we apply that linear relationship. So basically, that's the main problem and main issue that is causing the whole system. It will cause the whole system to lose the quality of self-healing system and self-regulating system. And as we know, our body is able to do the most sophisticated thing with the minimum effort, like speaking right now, and at the same time taking care of all the regulating all my body pressure, oxygen level, and enzymes and everything. So that simplicity of the living system is always there, and that is giving us another point of that the linear mind is the one that is not really letting us to tap into that simplicity of flow of the or zone that they call of the universe. But what am I trying to bring on this part is the issue of hubs and how they perform in the linear relationship or nonlinear relationship. And it is very significant in the approaching, going through this transformation curve. So when we talked about the main transformation would be in our body network, and through the shifting that relationship between the body and body network. So by observing our actions, our thoughts, our behaviors with the nonlinear values, our brain itself is a self-organizing system that eventually, as a feedback loop, self-organizes itself to be more observant and system thinker. And that way, basically, we coordinate our left linear and right nonlinear part, and we get the optimum of our knowledge and potential that we have. So in the same way, if we apply the same thing, since everything is just a network now, how could we apply this in higher scale? Because as we mentioned, if we look at the whole world as a network, and they have self-similarity and and universality, it will be applicable to any scale of the nonlinear networks, if everything is a nonlinear network. So on that base, when we apply it to Earth as a network, we see that the human network is the hub again there too, because it uses all the resources. And if you look at the brain, again, 5% of the weight of the whole body is, or volume of the body is brain, but it uses 20% of the energy that we consume. And it makes all the decision for all other part of the body too, and has a high domination when, on the body network. Same thing in the Earth too. When we look at the Earth, the human population is the smallest network, but it consumes most of the resource of the Earth as another living system we are living in. And it makes all kind of decision and impact on other species, plants, and everything too. So, and so then this transformation has to happen in our, while it was in our mind, now in our body is a mind, now as a Earth in the human network. So we need to have that shift of relationship in human network. And then from human network, if we look at it, there is intellectual network that is more really more has a more threshold of understanding of this process than other part of the network that they have so much involved on the daily work and all this, that they are in a war zone or whatever, they cannot get into this kind of discussions. Unfortunately, they don't have that privilege. So that intellectual network is the hub of the human intellectual network. And then from there, the system thinkers, spiritual thinkers, and young generation is the hub that has the most, again, threshold of understanding and to be able to get to that this new relationship and transformation, and link together and apply it to the and understand it and make it embody it and practice it. And from there we get to our through the system thinkers and combination of that and spiritual thinkers, our collaborating network is the seed and the hub of this engagement to bridge all these networks together and bring this type of transformation through that network. And by doing so, expand the whole network and use all the expertise, knowledge, and of those three networks to expand this idea and go further. So basically, that goes back that we need to start from within. So to summarize it, then we have this question to everyone in our network, because as we see, we all are feeling this change as a collaborators that we are working together. We all are seeing the necessity of this change and willing to work on that direction too, from our heart, our mind, and that's why we are together now. Can we imagine that the collaborative network are the seeds and hub of the human intellectual networks, and that they have enough potential to internalize, enrich, simplify, and visualize this transformation process and bring it to the world? So are we able to, how can we implement the nonlinear system thinking to our collaborative network? That's the main question that we have. Are we able to implement it in our network and experience it as a relationship, values, and thinking? And are we able to? Can we imagine that we are that seed that we're going to bring that to the society to bridge the bring, simplify, as I said, enrich and visualize it and communicate it with the other networks like system thinkers, spiritual thinkers, and young generation, and eventually bring it, expand this idea to the higher networks. And so to end this discussion, first of all, on that subject, if we expand this, if we were able to expand this network to other networks and bridge those networks together, that would be bringing those values to, I can share later on as far as the political, economic, and planetary impact of this process, that how it's applicable to all those processes too. And I will follow up in another session on that part, application part. Today was the 21st of the December, and as you know, the beginning of this winter and end of fall. Normally this night was the longest night of the world and shortest day that we had. And in all the traditions, they normally, especially in Persian tradition, they celebrate this night that is a beginning. They call it Yalda, which is a new birth. That is a new beginning of light. And somehow we are ending this domination of darkness and starting to have more longer days, means longer lights, and somehow bring lights to life, and eventually it would be domination of light to darkness. In Persian tradition, they normally celebrate that at night, and they all night they get together, have their stories and all this, and read poetry from Hafiz and Rumi, and use and eat pomegranate and other fruits. And I hope that this coincidence that today is the same day and we are discussing this would be a good seed among us to go through that process and bring light to ourselves and human being and earth and go forward. And I hope that would be a good start.
Thank you, Mansoor. And thank you, Roxy, and everyone for this super useful and important discussion. Mansoor, we are so inspired by your approaches and your ideas, and this has been a really important contribution to the Living Systems Collaboratory, as well, I hope, to the Design Science Studio and the Buckminster Fuller Institute's larger vision. I would like, before we open it up to a more kind of free-form discussion, which I'm really looking forward to, I would like to try to relate some of these ideas back to my own practice. I find that it's always more useful for me to take these large concepts, these big picture ideas, these transformational energies, and find some way to use them to help plant a seed or germinate the seed or water the plant in my own practice and my own ideas. First of all, it seems entirely fitting that we're talking about nonlinear systems in a context of art and design, because art making at its core is inherently nonlinear. Creativity is inherently transformational. So how do we connect these ideas? How do we move forward in a specific way? For me, it revolves around the iterative process that is at the heart of art making that becomes transformational. Think about what we do as artists, as designers. Yes, we create, yes, we make artifacts in the world, but really at the beginning process, we start by making a model, whether that's a mental model or whether that's a physical model. I'm going to call it a prototype. I'm going to say that in art making that is inherently transformational, iterative in nature, we want to start with this prototype, this model, that once we implement it, whether it's a sketch, whether it's a working prototype of a piece of software, whether it's a model of something that's going to be built, that model itself gives us a way of manifesting our idea in the world and in a way that we can learn from, because of course the model is not the final product. The model is simply a place for inquiry, a place for changing our ideas, a place for changing our mind, a place for, transformation. And of course, this is nonlinear in nature. We need to start as early as possible in the modeling process. And ideally, in the context of a collaborative activity like the Living Systems Collaboratory, we are sharing those ideas with others. So this creative process itself, in addition to being nonlinear, is recursive, things we've heard about from Mansoor in this whole discussion, and iterative in nature. As you build your prototype, as you are creating, then you're learning about creating. So you go from learning by doing to learning about things to learning by doing and learning about. This process itself is inherently transformational, iterative in nature, recursive, and most importantly, it can really be seen as a nonlinear process. So for those of you who are in this session who are currently part of the Living Systems Collaboratory, I certainly invite you to think about your process in that way, not so much thinking about your process as a series of steps with a finite end goal, but really think of it as an inherently nonlinear process in that regard. And for those who have joined us as guests interested in the work of the Living Systems Collaboratory, I hope you keep following us and check back and see more from our intrepid collaborarians as they develop these ideas over time. So thank you again, Mansoor. Thank you to everyone for organizing this. And I think at this point, it would be great to turn this over to a bit of a Q&A.
Thank you, John. Very important to kind of ground these ideas back into our practice. So grateful for you. So yeah, we have some really great questions if you're ready, Mansoor.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So our first question comes to us from Stephen Bow, and he is asking, and I'll put it at the bottom now, if the movement is away from self-assertive to self-organizing, would it help to reframe this as collective organizing?
Yes, basically, collective organizing means that when things become fractal, all the elements synchronize together to create the whole, and that's collaboration of the all the like in a concert, everybody is playing his instrument, but at the same time they are collaborating together to make a one music that is a collaboration of them. Same thing in the when we look at any synchronicity. Is the same collaboration, and you can call it that collaborative organization. Like laser is the same way. All the photons that come from that laser, they are all synchronized in the same direction, same frequency, and all this. And that's why, since they are synchronized, they are irregular photons, but when they are synchronizing, they have higher effect and different quality than single photon has. That's the main issue of synchronicity in the world and on any living system.
Wonderful. Great question, Stephen. Thank you, Mansoor. So the next question comes from Ruta Dainte, and she asks if you could talk more on how transformation happens first in the brain and then in human systems.
So all I'm trying to bring out that this disconnect starts from our body first. Disconnecting brain from the body network. Consciously, brain and body is working together so elegantly that we are able to do all these things, sophisticated things with a minimum effort. But as soon as our linear mind takes over, it's just always looking at any event or any change or any news that comes. It processes it with defensive manner and becomes more defensive, judgmental, and all kind of worriness and judgment and blame and everything, that eventually, rather than brain working with the body to create the whole that is greater than some of the body, like any other living networks, it becomes the whole that is less than some of the part, because we are all day, we are just worried about that. Just use it as one example. If we take the pills, as you know, the 45% or 40% of effect of any pill, it's a placebo effect, that our body system believes in that and then heals itself. Nowadays, that when we are getting the advertisement that they are talking, at first they talk about the effect of the pill and then hundreds of side effects. We focus on the side effects and we are all worried that we're taking this and what type of side effects and all this we are getting. So basically, our brain starts to not only take this pill for the healing of the system, it takes it as all the defensive mechanism of worriness after what type of side effect I'm going to get, and brings all kind of fear enzymes, anger enzymes, disappointment enzymes, that they are not working for the healing process. So basically, as I said, we're creating the whole that is less than some of the parts, rather than creating the whole to synchronize with other parts of the body to bring the healing process. So this disconnection starts from domination of left side linear thinking and linear relationship. And then we apply it to other system in human network. With the earth, you start using that linear relationship of self-assertiveness, short-term gain, domination, and rather than using nonlinear values of cooperation, partnership, the way the living system works. And that disconnection has been the process that it came out from when we got self-aware to that process. And that's the main challenge that we have right now, to preventing us to bring the best of our quality that we have. And because, as I mentioned before too, we are byproduct of amazing process. Just imagine the sun with the 97% helium and hydrogen, the most simple thing could create this field of solar planet, and then green planet, and from bacteria, you and I. So we are byproduct of amazing process. How come we are not bringing that quality? It's just domination of left side brain, and it's not allowing us to focus on the achievement that we have. And we are just looking at the destruction that we created.
Beautiful. And perfectly related to this question, I will ask the next question, which comes to us from Umayyar. And I'm going to also put the question now at the bottom here, which is, how do you see human emotions like love through this nonlinear perspective?
As we know, when we all the most advanced experience or rich experience of human being has been spiritual experiences through the sages and all the that we know of. They all have shown that when they get to that selfishness, that we eliminate that separation and become one with the universe, they feel so much love and passion and beauty that shows that when you become one with the universe, you have that experience of love, passion, peace, and even the near-death experiences that people had. They had the same feeling that when you lose that elusive separation that created through that self-conscious process, we feel that. And feeling-wise, we know that when you become one with the whole, and in the Sufism mythology, they say that the God was, or divine was love, and wanted to manifest itself through in the real world. So it started to make manifest the angels, but find out that the angels don't feel the pain that is required to go through that pain to manifest the love, which is the essence of the divine. And that's why they choose human being to go to that through pain, to be able to bring this love to the real world. So, and if we look at it in the other perspective, in more scientific perspective, when we look at the Earth as a living system, it gives us in 365 days a best ride around the solar system. It doesn't charge us a penny, provide us all this thing that we need as far as food, oxygen, everything that we need, and all this too. And it doesn't, and gives us a very smooth ride, and it doesn't charge us a penny. And at the same time, it doesn't even tell us how you are behaving with us, how I'm treating back. So it's unconditional love. Or sun going to 270,000 degrees in million degrees, 1,000 degrees in her belly to create this photon, to send it to us, to use it for different subjects. And is not asking how I'm treating this, how you are using this against each other, or for working together and all this too. And even look at other animals, dogs, how much they consume daily, and how much we consume as a human being, and how much love they produce, unconditional love, and how much we are. So basically, yes, this system, living system, is based on unconditional love, and being observant, and then you have no expectation, because expectation comes from linear mind and judgmental mind. And in system thinkers, you are observant, and you are not judgmental. So when you are not, then there is no blame. You are just practicing love, and your relationship with others are based on any network that you are participating is based of unconditional love and peace. So basically, that would be the emotional part of the which is a love, unconditional love, in relationship and also in feeling and moments too. And as you know, our personal experience when we are in love, we are just trolling, and we are in the best point of our life too. So basically, that's what it is. And our linear mind and expectation is the one that is not really letting us to participate and experience that love in ourselves, in the society.
Beautiful. Thank you for speaking to that. The next question comes from Rasma, and they ask, what practices do you recommend for us to hone our awareness of the body as a living system, or visceral experiences that we are a part of, even broader living systems such as the biosphere?
So this process of transformation starts from within us. Our brain basically is another living system and self-organizing system that it works with the feedback system. It self-organizes itself through the feedback system. If we start observing our thoughts, our actions, our values, our practices, and judgments, everything with this nonlinear way, nonlinear values, nonlinear relationship, to see how then our body, our brain starts to realize our linear relationship and values that normally got used to it and apply it. And by being aware of that, eventually our brain, our domination of left side, masculine and logical one, it gives the cooperation of right side brain that is more observant. And eventually that domination of left becomes cooperation of left and right together. And that way it starts that transformation within us as awareness of our behavior, our body. And obviously by doing meditation and all this too, that would help too. They used to use all kind of hallucinic things in the different traditions to get to that, to get rid of that domination of left. But on different traditions, there is different way of getting rid of that. But the basic thing is just, as far as I scientifically would be aware of the linear behaviors, relationship, and values of the way your brain is acting, as far as judgmental, as far as the treating the other part of the body in the daily life. How much we are addicted to information rather than taking care of our eyes at the morning that we are waking up. Are we just going to look at what happened in the world in our cell phone, or we just first want to make sure that we give some yoga to our eyes and appreciate the eyes, because it's part of the whole system that is providing all the information to brain, and not to be too biased to only self-assertiveness of the brain for its addiction to information or any other substance.
I'm muted. He asks, how do we flow with the living systems around us in a social, economic, and political environment with architecture and infrastructure that is designed to train and enforce linear thinking?
I was going to cover that in other speech, but other discussion. But yes, you see, when we start shifting in our network as a collaborator, and then communicate with the larger network. So we expand that network as far as the thinking and as far as relationship. And then through that, we can create a platform and site that people that they want to vote only vote for as for the political issues. Vote for those people that they act and they believe and they their platform or plans are in in line with this new relationship and values of nonlinear networks. So basically, by expanding that network, there will be millions of the people that the young generation, females, that they are more attractive to this type of thinking and relationship. So by expanding, and then the spiritual thinkers, young generation, the system thinkers, that network expand itself and has more and more people getting to that network and practicing this type of relationship. And then they, as a voting group, that will be voting on local or in federal level or country level on those people that they are implementing this type of values that we discussed, nonlinear values. So that eventually changes the whole governing system to those people that they are more willing to go through that. And that could be in cooperation with the even United Nations to just guide the whole political system and political leaders to eventually get to that way of thinking and relationship. And by being able to get the vote from those major networks that we can create by expanding it. Same thing for the economy too. The stock market, those are companies that we can rate them with these values, and then any company or any of those mutual funds or that they are going to this direction as far as internally or their product, they would be the one that the money would shift to those companies. And for instance, the universities and all this too, they can put their investment on those companies, and that basically changed the whole economy and the stock market economy. I will go through this as far as more detail on how our economic system is and how could we change that through this process. And that would be a good topic that we'll cover later on.
Okay, Meyer, we have the next question. Somebody's asking if you can talk more about processes and the how of increasing self-awareness, connecting to collective and cognitive intelligence.
As I said, this is the way I'm looking at the world as a network. And the networks first start among those people that they have a more threshold of understanding and willing to collaborate, work together, and synchronize their asset, their talent, their expertise to create a whole that is greater than sum of the parts. So start from those people, and then by creating that and communicating it with the other networks or people that they have the same threshold of understanding or that level of understanding. That way the whole system, the whole network will expand and eventually becomes in a collective conscious. But one thing that we are now able to get to is the collective conscious of the human network, because of the nature of the collective higher level of network has higher conscious. So our collective network has more conscious and purpose than us as individuals adding together. How could we get into that knowledge, use that knowledge, and see the correlationship of behavior of that knowledge with the society, with the real world, and figure out how could guide us, because it has a higher knowledge, to progress and go forward. And those would be the new issues that we can discuss further And that's another level of understanding that we are getting, that how could we get into the higher level of understanding of the higher networks and implement it in our social network. So that's another discussion that we can, we already started with Lawrence and Chikyo, and we are hoping that will be another discussion that we can discuss further.
Thank you, Mansoor. And yeah, we could talk about all of these forever, I think. I wonder, could we maybe have time for one more question? How are you feeling?
Do we have time?
We have time for sure. Okay. Wonderful. So we have a question from a guest who's not in the collaboratory, but has been with us throughout the stream. Luis Ramirez, who asks, how do we reconcile our schooling in the nonlinear, or in the linear, with the nonlinear flows of the living world? This is about education.
Yeah, as far as education, as we know, this linear education has been really so rigid that is not applicable anymore to. So we divide the people according to their linear intelligence, and we forget about all those people that they are not really they are good at linear thinking, and they are mostly nonlinear, like artists and all this too. And we divide those people as a, these guys are dumb and these guys are the only one that they know they are smart and they can do. So we actually put them on that screen and eliminate a lot of amazing potentials that people have. And as you know, most of those people that they are very successful are, even they drop the high school too, because that system is designed with the linear perception, linear education, and domination of linear thinking. So, and also, as far as the structure of the schools is not really, is very obsolete. As you know, before we had one place, one room with 30 people with different experience, different knowledge, different way of learning, and have one person to carry the information and try to explain to them. Now with the internet, we can design it for the need and the capability and the capacity and the way of learning of any individual, and let them experience and see what their best talent is and design this education according to their, that customization of things now to the individuals is something that we have right now in digital world, that it completely changes the that category that we used to have, or put people in different level of understanding and level of talent, and blame them for not understanding and all this, which was, or rigidity of system was doing it. Now we are getting to the higher level of customization and developing people with their passion and their particular pattern talent that they have.
This is one of the things that we work with the most right now, as far as our educational systems and how we're shifting and innovating. This is a really important question and a really rich answer. So, speaking of educational systems, I'm going to add John Crawford back into the stream as we wrap this wonderful conversation today.
Really helpful, really useful. We're always rethinking models of art-making education. And the Living Systems Collaboratory, I think, is one really great example of that. So we are inherently a nonlinear system. We're just doing our best to recognize that and respond within the existing frameworks. And Mansoor, you're such an inspiration and an important part of that process. Thank you very much. Thank you, Roxy and Nico and the entire team for all of your work today. This has been a wonderful event.
Thank you, John. Umair, who was a big part of supporting putting this presentation together with Mansoor, had some closing thoughts that I thought I would share. He says it comes down to our collaborating networks within the human networks, where nonlinear thinking bridges all other networks, social, political, economic. So the more diverse backgrounds, disciplines, and perspectives we have, the more robust our emergent experiences become. The more observant, more tolerant, more collaborative, more connected we are. So I thought that was a really beautiful way for us to close as we enter this time of kind of the solstice and wrapping the year and stepping into this era that awaits us in 2021. And the age of Aquarius and all of the other wonderful celestial things that are occurring. So yeah, what a beautiful way to wrap this year, and an invitation to go spend some time outside, listening to our beautiful living planet, and maybe alone, maybe spend some time and just one of my favorite dear friends and designers, Ting Kelly, is Kevin Kelly's daughter. She taught me something called I just forgot what she calls it, but basically it's nature scanning. So you go out into the earth and you come with a question, and then you listen and observe, as Mansoor was saying. And so maybe that invitation stays with all of you. Like, what is it that is alive in you, and in your process and in your journey, and see how the world is providing and the earth is providing a model for us to reconsider. I did that recently, and I was observing this perfect, beautiful little plant, and like parts of its petals were perfect and parts of them were broken, and yet it was so beautiful. It was this like collaboration and cooperation of things falling away for other things to be stronger. So just beautiful reminders that our earth provides. And let's close this wonderful stream and this time. Thank you so much, Mansoor. Do you have any closing thoughts before we go?
It's a good timing for, as we said, it's being new birth of the light. And let's hope that this for next year, and we're going to have so much changes in our behavior and all this that is bringing us to the better world, that we can all live together with the earth, with the other animals, with the other species. And there's all kind of sign that this is changing fast and fast, and the earth is trying to shake us up. And being observant, as you said, to the nature, to the other people, even people that we think that they are not thinking like us. There is a good love inside of them to if we crack that shell, we see that courage inside always too. And looking at the people and working with others with the heart rather than mind, that normally has all kind of judgment in it. And it doesn't let us really talk through the heart together too. And that being observant would be the issue on human values, or anybody of you that we are in connected, and also in the plants, on the birds, on the all the things that is around us, to providing us all kind of information to be aware and wake up.
Thank you, Mansoor. Thank you, John. And thank you all. We hope that you have a beautiful end of year, beautiful solstice, and we hope to see you soon.
Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.